Toni Schneiders was one of those photographers who really helped shape the way we see the world after World War II. He wasn't just taking pictures, he was rethinking photography altogether. In 1949, he co-founded Fotoform, a bold, avant-garde group that pushed boundaries, and just a few years later, he became one of the key voices in the subjective photography movement of the 1950s. Now, what makes his work so special isn't just the clean lines or the careful compositions, though those are definitely there. It's that human touch. You'll see in the way he captures everyday moments, ordinary people, simple textures, quiet shapes. Sometimes there's a bit of humor, other times a little poetry hidden in the frame. Based near Lake Constance, and often traveling through Europe, North Africa, and Asia, Schneiders photographed everything from sweeping landscapes to industrial sites to intimate portraits. His photographs were published in nearly 200 illustrated books, and thanks to Otto Steiner's subjective photography exhibitions, his work reached audiences all over the world. But in the end, what really sets Toni Schneiders apart is the way he saw people. Even in his most structured images, there's always a sense of warmth. That quiet humanity, that's what stays with you. Toni Schneiders began his journey into photography back in 1935 when he started an apprenticeship at the Menzel studio in Koblenz. Just a few years later, on April 21st, 1938, he completed his training and passed the Master Craftsman's exam. Then came the war years. In 1942, while serving in the military, he trained as a paratrooper at the Dobritz military area. But photography never left his side. After studying at the photography school in Braunschweig, he was first assigned to the Army's photographic unit, and not long after, he was sent to France and Italy as a war correspondent. He had volunteered for the paratroopers and found himself right on the front lines, capturing the war through his lens with a paratrooper training battalion. One of the most remarkable moments he photographed was Operation Eich, the German mission to rescue Benito Mussolini on September 12, 1943, in the Gran Sasso Mountains. Those images ended up being published all over the world. But war took its toll. On August 18, 1944, he was seriously wounded in Paris. After the war ended, he made his way back to Koblenz, picking up the camera again, this time focusing on reports, commercial shoots, and travel photography. In 1946, he moved to Meersburg, and 2 years later, opened his own photo studio. By 1949, he was settled in Lindau as an independent photojournalist. If you're finding this helpful, hit subscribe. It really helps the channel and lets me keep bringing you more content. Thanks for watching. There was a short period when he worked in Hamburg, but in 1952, he returned to Lindau for good, where he lived and worked alongside his wife Ingeborg until he passed away in 2006. Today, his archive is preserved by the FC Gunlack Foundation in Hamburg, and his wartime photographs are kept in the Federal Archives in Koblenz. That same year, 1949, he co-founded the experimental photography group Fotoform, together with Siegfried Lauterwasser, Peter Keetman, Wolfgang Reiswitz, Otto Steiner, and Ludwig Winstasser. Their images stood out, bold, graphic compositions that pushed photography into new territory, continuing the spirit of experimentation that had begun in the 1920s and early 30s. Toni also played a key part in shaping what became known as subjective photography in the 1950s, thanks to exhibitions and publications curated by Otto Steiner. This movement gained international recognition. Until Peter Keetman passed away in 2005, Toni and he stayed in close contact, their bond never fading. Among his peers, what made Toni's work truly unique was the quiet sensitivity in his portraits, images of everyday life that showed real empathy. On the commercial side, He collaborated with publishers to create photographic books about cities, regions, and whole countries. From 1953 onwards, he traveled far and wide, across Germany, through Europe, to North Africa and Southeast Asia. And in 1970, he began building an image archive focused on the history of European art and culture, a legacy that still speaks through his photographs today. There's something special about photographs that stay with you, images that don't just show something, but mean something. Toni Schneiders knew that kind of image didn't come from tricks or heavy editing. For him, photography wasn't about impressing others. It was about being honest with the subject, with the viewer, and above all, with himself. His work stood out because of its clarity. Each frame was carefully composed, clean, and full of intention. Even when the world around him was still recovering from war, his photographs didn't dwell on sadness. Instead, they looked forward. They carried a quiet optimism. And maybe that's why so many of them still feel fresh today, because he chose to see the world with curiosity, not cynicism. He once wrote, "We should once again learn to see our environment in a positive manner, and to be more honest with ourselves and our work. Simple, clear, and true." That wasn't just a nice idea. It was the foundation of everything he did. Whether he was documenting a quiet moment by Lake Constance or capturing life in distant countries, he approached every subject with the same clear vision and deep respect. Schneiders believed that photography, even though it had grown alongside painting and the visual arts, had its own language, and he spoke it fluently. His images balanced abstraction and realism, not as opposites, but as two sides of the same coin. For him, abstraction wasn't about distancing the viewer from reality, but about distilling it, sharpening it, until only the essential remained. He was part of the Fotoform collective, a group that helped redefine photography in Germany after the war. Together, they moved away from rigid documentation and towards something more expressive, more thoughtful. Yet even among his peers, Schneiders had a unique touch. His compositions had structure, but never felt cold. His contrasts were strong, but never harsh. His use of light and shadow felt deliberate, but natural. It wasn't just technical skill. It was sensitivity, a sense of when to stop, when to hold back, and when to let a moment speak for itself. He was also deeply curious, not just about places, but about people. That curiosity took him across Germany and around the globe. He built a successful career as a travel photographer and published beautifully illustrated guides to cities and countries. But for him, travel wasn't about ticking off destinations. It was about freedom. The freedom to work with joy, to explore without pressure, and to approach the world with a sense of play. That playful spirit runs through his work. You can feel it in the rhythm of his images. In a way, he finds beauty in everyday moments and elegance in simplicity. And even now, his photographs carry that same quiet energy. They don't demand attention, they earn it. Schneiders also cared deeply about sharing what he learned. He often tested new lenses and cameras, especially from Leica, and generously shared his experiences with readers of photography magazines. He believed in the craft, in precision, in doing the work for the right reasons. He once said, "A good photograph is timeless." And maybe that's the best way to understand what he left behind. Not just a collection of images, but something that still speaks to us today, a quiet lesson in how photography doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. That clarity and honesty never go out of style. And that the most enduring images aren't the ones that try to impress. They're the ones that tell the truth in the simplest and most beautiful way possible. Toni Schneiders didn't just leave a legacy of great photographs. He left behind a vision built on respect, intention, and integrity. A vision that still speaks, quietly, clearly, and with lasting strength.